excited for tonight. This is Sonia Dudley, Diamond Ambassador, and I have my best friend on the call, Helen McFadden, and we just wanted to share with you guys our journey from the very beginning of Plexus. You know, it's Thanksgiving weekend 2015, and it also represents through Helen and I, our business really started to explode. This was the first month that we saw Sheila do an event. It's the month that I quit my job. It's the month that things started to explode. So we just wanted to kind of share from our hearts all the details that we've never shared, and we're just really excited. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm going to turn it over to Helen right now.
Oh, I'm so excited to tell our story. We tell it often, but not quite in this detail. So this is a joy and a privilege, of course, to be with you and, you know, just go down memory lane. We have a lot of great memories, but the last 3 years, without a doubt, are the most memorable for sure. A lot of people ask how we know each other. And so I thought I would just very briefly explain. Back in 1993, my husband and I moved to Nashville, Tennessee. I was new in network marketing and I was looking for a meeting to go to in my cosmetic company. And I actually found Sonia Dudley in the phone book, which is so crazy and dates us because who the heck uses a phone book anymore, right?
Right.
I just love the sound of her voice when I called her and said, you know, can I come to a meeting? I'm new. I need some training and encouragement and a team to, you know, bond with. And of course, Sonia welcomed me with open arms. And it was funny because this is before GPS. And so I gave myself a ton of time because I was new to the Nashville area and I didn't know where the heck I was going. And your meeting was in downtown Nashville and I was kind of nervous. So I gave myself a ton of time with my paper map, you know, and I walked in. It was probably a half hour before the meeting was even ready to start, but you had just gotten there and you were unloading some boxes. And I go, Sonia, is that you? And you turned around, you're just like, hey, and just came over and gave me a big hug. And I really say the story all the time when I tell that is like, we've been best friends ever since that first hug. And we just loved each other from the beginning, had similar hearts and passions and desires and goals in life, and husband, you know, newlyweds with 2 cats, and lived within a mile of each other for about 2 years before I moved back to Reno in 1995. And so that's really where the story begins in our other journey. We saw each other, would you say, about 1 to 2 times a year for 15 years, was it?
Yeah, 1 to 2 times a year. And, you know, it was with that other company. And so when we saw each other, it was we were always struggling financially, both of us. So I remember, you know, we couldn't go a day early and see each other. We couldn't stay a day over, and we couldn't room together because of the structure they made us room with. So, you know,
remember the time that you, Matt, Michael, and I, we went to New Orleans, and we shared a room, like we were in adjoining rooms, but not really adjoining. It was kind of like the same room. Yeah. So that kind of shows the state of our pathetic financial situations. I mean, we loved each other, but we didn't love each other that much. That was really a chore.
Yeah, I remember that very well. Oh, yeah. All right.
So we just, you know, we would see each other here and there, but, you know, it was always business, always short. And it was never just a luxury of, you know, hey, let's go to Mexico together and vacation together or anything like that. So when we left network marketing in the mid to late 2000s, Sonia you got out about a year before me, maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
We really, you know, Sonia, you had so much stress from your position after you won the big car. And then I left at the age of 40, needing to take care of my parents, but really, really kind of soured on the whole, at least the marketing plan we had. You know, it was just very, very hard. It was like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And we worked so incredibly hard, holding classes and buying inventory to keep up with all the seasonal lines. And it was just so hard. We had amazing training. Wouldn't you say we went to about 4 self-improvement workshops a year if you counted career conference, leadership convention, and then we had like a fall retreat.
Yeah.
Where we saw like they were amazing workshops. The training was amazing. We got to have John Maxwell at one of them, and just top-notch training.
Yeah.
So I think what happened for both of us was we left network marketing burnt out, but yet with so many skills, that we felt like we just needed a track to run on, but what could that be?
Yeah.
And you had tried several, stuck with one for over a year and did okay.
Yeah.
But just the last one, here's kind of where the story gets interesting. So the last one was the travel company. And at your job, when you were sharing or showing homes, you actually would have some people come in and try to recruit you on the job. And we had a conversation a month before I even first heard the word Plexus.
Yeah.
I was sitting in my backyard, right back at this window. I can picture it like it was yesterday. I was in a chair, and you were saying, gosh, they're just so pushy, and I keep telling them no. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like everybody in network marketing is like desperate and pushy, and we'll never do that again. Never, ever, ever. I mean, we were like, I'm embarrassed to say we were so negative and nasty about it. Would you agree?
Yeah, we were. Wait, but reason being, that's one lesson in being pushy with people. I mean, it was the biggest turnoff, and I remember us just mocking and just being so sarcastic about it, like we would never do it again. I remember.
Right, because we felt so strongly that we understood that relationships were everything in network marketing. And when people come from that place where they trick you or they try to talk you into something, when you have just looked them in the eye and said, no, thank you, and they won't give up to the point where there's a difference between being politely persistent and passionate and just downright pushy and rude. And that was what I think had been happening for you a lot. And so we just had that, convicting conversation that we would never, ever, ever, I don't know how many evers were after that ever.
A lot.
Ever. So wow. Okay. So that was the summer of 2012. And a month after that conversation was Labor Day weekend. Right before Labor Day weekend, I was sitting on my couch, and I can just, again, picture it like it was yesterday. Had my laptop on my lap. I was on Facebook, which was not a daily thing for me by any means. Didn't have a ton of Facebook friends. It was just not something I was on all the time. And I did not have a Facebook friend named Sheila Medina, but boy, her name popped up on my screen, and I immediately remembered her from my former company that you and I were with. I know you didn't know her because her and I were in the same area, and we were in the same Ruby seminar, but obviously we were in the same group. And I was like, oh my gosh, I heard that the grapevine, she had gotten out of the cosmetic company as well. So I wonder what she's up to. And I went to her wall, and the only reason her name popped up, even though we weren't friends, was because a mutual friend liked a picture of her flooded backyard from Hurricane Isaac had just come through. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we went through the whole Katrina thing 10 years prior. Poor thing's getting flooded again. And then I see her in an evening gown with her husband getting a diamond Rolex watch in New Orleans at a big banquet. And she had just picked up a Plexus Lexus, and I had a nasty Lexus that was not brand new anymore by any means and didn't smell very good anymore. I was like, that was like kind of the hook. It was like, she got back into network marketing. What is Plexus? And I like a Lexus. Like, I like that car. And so when I read about the products, I had been a Weight Watcher leader for the prior 3 years, as you know, and I just had this overwhelming feeling. And for those of you who've heard me talk about that before, there is no other way to describe it other than just a complete leap of faith feeling like nothing about it makes sense. It was just God convicting me, pushing me, like shoving me, yes, you're going to call Sheila and you're going to do this. And one of the reasons was just reading about the pink drink and knowing how my Weight Watcher members struggled and how I struggled with carbs and sugar, and knowing you as my BFF, Miss Chocolate Lover, and just all the people I could help, and this pink drink that could actually do something like naturally to help your body. And so when I called Sheila and said, hey, remember me? And she talked to me for 2 hours. I was driving over the hill to go to visit my sister in California for Labor Day weekend. And I was driving over the Sierra Mountains, and I seriously, we got cut off probably because the reception was so bad. I would say at least 8 or 9 times. So what should have been like a half-hour conversation turned into like a 2-hour conversation. But we were like, we're going to finish this conversation. She was excited to hear the passion in my voice about wanting to know everything. What does the drink taste like? And tell me all the bad things and all the things we know to ask. If, since of course I'm thinking, great, network marketing. Oh gosh, and so when I got to the beach the next day, and after we had this amazing conversation, and the conviction just grew stronger, and she said there's nobody in Reno, you'd be the first person, and I knew you had never heard of it. I knew it because if you had heard of it, you would have drank it and talked me into doing it because of what the drink did, And then, of course, when she shared the pain testimonies, of course, I thought of you with your fibromyalgia and stuff. So another moment in time, sitting on a beach with my sister and her husband. And I told them, they were actually, I said, hey, I think I'm going to do this thing. And they're like, is it FDA approved? And they were just being protective and everything. But I said, I'm going to text Sonia right now, and I'm going to tell her she's doing this with me. So I'll let you take it from here on what you got on the receiving end of those texts.
That was a fun 4 days. And I remember I was off for a few days there from work, and I remember getting the text. I think I was outside. It was beautiful. I was outside, and the first text was like, hey, so you may have to help me here, but it was like, hey, our lives are about to change. Mm-hmm. We're about to do something big. And I was like, I'm doing something big. And I was like, what? Are you adopting a child? I started guessing all these things. You remember that? Then
yeah. Well, I said our lives are about to change, and I said, you said whose lives? And I said, well, if I know you as well as I know you, you and mine both.
Yeah.
And then so then you started asking, like, what is it? Are you adopting a baby? And then is it water filters? Like you were trying.
Yeah. Well, then you narrowed it down to no, it's definitely business. And I was like, it's sales. You were like, yes. I'm like, is it water filters? I mean, it was so crazy. And so, yeah, finally, I don't even know if you told me the name of it that day.
I didn't.
I mean, like, I was like telling Michael, I was like, she won't tell me. And yeah, it just went on for the weekend. It drove me crazy. I couldn't believe you wouldn't tell me. You're like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to get it in and then tell you how it is, or something like that. Tell you when I get it. Finally, you broke. You told me. And we both.
I think even before then, I was like, it starts with a P.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like 6 letters or whatever. You were awful. You were horrible. Just like you always are. And so I remember, I think that was that weekend, and I know that we ordered, you said, okay, here's the deal. Sonia, yes, it's network marketing. Because I said, if it's network marketing, I'm not. And why would you do it after we made fun of it so bad a month ago? And you said, listen, it's this pink drink, it's this little pink drink, comes in a packet, it's natural. It's supposed to help people with things like, and you started naming off the things, that I had, the struggling with the curbing of the appetite, the
sleep,
the pain, all kinds of stuff, the sleep, and the weight gain. And I thought, okay, you said, listen, if this works, it's only $34.95 to start. Let's order a welcome kit. And I'm like, well, what's that? How much is that going to cost? Because I can't go borrow money, because I had a 6-figure debt left over from doing 2, not 1. Go home, go big or go home. Is that right? I did 2 traditional businesses. So I went and borrowed 6 figures, but they didn't work. It didn't work out. So, yeah. And it was around 2008. So I had that debt, and I'm like, I can't go borrow any money. And you're like, you're not going to have to borrow money. It's $34.95 for the membership. It's only $99 or $199 for the products. I know you were like, I know your mom's going to want some. Your sister's going to want some. I'm like, well, you're right. So I remember I said to you, and I remember this clear as a bell, I will try this product, but I'm not telling a soul that I'm trying it till I get it in, I taste of it, I make sure I like it, and then if it's working after the first few days, if I feel anything from it or notice any changes, then I'm in, and we'll go all the way. Then we'll know this is it. We'll tell the world. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because you were not excited about it, and for some reason I was. Again, I just, felt that conviction, the people I could help, and it was scary and exciting all at the same time. Probably more scary, but when you, anything that is such goes against anything you do, like a big leap of faith, should feel scary. If it doesn't give you that pit in your stomach, it's probably not as big of a deal. This was a big deal. For both of us, really, because of your reputation in your county. Like, I remember you were really concerned with that. People know I've tried network marketing before. How is this different? We went through all the ways. If this even works, though, it's network marketing. How is it different? Do I have to have inventory? Do I have to have parties? Can I lay my head down at night knowing I'm not going to get people into debt?
Yes.
And this compensation plan really does work. And when Sheila shared with me that her first year she made 6 figures, and I had no reason to not trust her, and I told you that, she was a solid person that I had no reason to doubt. You just thankfully agreed. And
Yeah.
so the day we joined, it was September 4th in the morning. I called you with my ambassador number, and then you joined. And I know our husbands were not on board. I couldn't even say the P word in our house until I brought home money. And so I had to make that really quick because I was excited and I wanted to be able to not have my husband be mad at me for this. So when you turned around and sponsored 3 people, went silver your first week, my first check was $100. And I could then start talking and saying the actual word in our house. And it was a process, though, from there, just to really believe that was real, like going to stay that way. I know for Michael probably too.
Oh yeah, he was very skeptical. He, bless his heart, I had been in 4 other companies, maybe 5, and so for him it was very much. He was like, you know what? Don't tell me. Don't talk about it. Let's just see what happens. Just try the product. If it's working, let's just see what happens. He just kind of didn't want to hear the fluff anymore.
The hype, yeah, all that, yeah.
Yeah. So
they're practical.
Very, very.
God love us. They love us so much because they sure. Really, I know every time I make a mortgage payment, a little bit of my old business is in that, and so I understand why they were, not on board right away. And they needed to see it, not hear it.
Yep. Yeah, same here. Well, my first week, the products changed my life. I remember you and I, that first day, the first morning that I tried the pink drink, if you remember, I went to the walk-in clinic. Yep. And I had them draw my blood because my cholesterol was always extremely high. And I said, I want to test the blood part of this too. And so that morning, before I drank the drink, I went to work. I stopped by the clinic. They drew my blood. And then I remember getting that blood work back and seeing what my cholesterol was. And then I remember checking it again exactly 1 month later, and it had dropped 51 points, 56, 51, something like that. But I was sleeping better. I remember texting you going, I don't have any cravings. Like, I'm not even wanting sweets. And you were like, me neither. And I'm like, I haven't had a Coke in 2 days. Like, and I remember do you remember like how good my pain was, like, gone. I was going, I don't have any pain. How can this be in my head? Literally, I don't have pain. My legs aren't aching. I'm not tired. I don't need a nap. I remember just thinking, I must be crazy.
Yeah. Well, and then fortunately, because of your amazing testimony, I was able to share that because it was so new for us that it was like we were just sharing anything we could to tell people why, or, share why we wanted to have them try it and gather testimonies of our own for them, see how it would work for them. And because you live in that little town where there is the gift of gossip,
Yep.
and you lost 7 pounds your first week, and boy, oh boy, did it start to spread like wildfire. It was out of control. I remember, I think it was about the 3-week mark, I was like talking, I was in my garage and you were texting me, or maybe we were even talking, and you were like, Helen, this is it. This is it, because your phone was already blowing up. I mean, I think you made your first Facebook post really said, okay, here we go. Something, you kind of hinted that you were up to something, and people were like, what is it? What is it? Well, then sure enough, you had your amazing, multi-results, not just weight loss, other stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, you were like, oh my gosh. And I remember going to my Weight Watcher meetings, and I so badly wanted to just hijack the whole meeting and start talking about Plexus, but I knew I couldn't. Yeah. So about a month into Plexus was when I put in my notice and I left, and I told them, I said, I found something that I really believe can help more people, and it's a conflict of interest. And they were really professional and wonderful about it. And I did what I could to get some names of my friends that I had made, of course, Debbie Nicholson being one of them, to share that before I left, because that was really such a big reason why I wanted to do this. I had seen people struggle for so long. My 3 years, I had some members that were with me the whole time, and they weren't even close to their goal weight. They hit plateaus. They never had the energy, the sugar craving, curbed to do the plan with success. And that, I felt like, gosh, I could do this on such a larger scale because it's network marketing. And I won't just have 30 people once a week to talk to. I can have endless people. So thankfully, and I'm forever, ever grateful that you said yes, because you were such a huge reason, between your success and who you are and your town and everything that just started to happen. It gave us that vision, I think, so much more sooner than had you not been on my team. I know for me, for sure, you were such a big part of that.
Well, thank you. Small towns, I mean, I was born and raised here, and that it can be a good thing or a bad thing, I guess. But, how many
diamonds out of your county now? My gosh.
Yeah. Our county was so poor. I mean, we've had factories closed down, and I remember way before Plexus, maybe way before, maybe 3, 4, 2, 5 years. I don't know. It was a few years. I remember you calling me and you said, is your county Perry County? And I said, yeah. And you said, I just heard on the radio that they said Perry County was the poorest county in the whole nation right now on the unemployment rate. And I said, yeah, I said, we've been on the news for that. And I said, absolutely. And then now to see, there was Plexus in Tennessee, I'm sure, but I was the first jewel in Tennessee, and I'd never heard about it. And now we have like 8 or 9, 10 jewels, maybe 10 now total in Perry County, driving Lexus, and won the trip to Maui. I mean, it's earning 6 figures, and some of them high 6 figures. So it's drastically changed the face of things around here. I know you still worked a full-time job. You talk about you left Weight Watchers, but you also still work, not a full-time job, but
I was caregiving for my parent or my mom, and then I had my Weight Watcher meeting, and then I had a bookkeeping job that was about 30 minutes away, and I worked there about 3 days a week in the mornings. And
it's a joke.
My boss was one of my first ambassadors, and he was like, oh, yeah. And then he never did a thing. So just, I think part of the story too is we have people from our very, very beginning that we sponsored, some of our first ambassadors, that are not with us anymore. And I think that's so important to our story. We did not let our belief, when we knew what we had, Sonia, like our belief was so rock solid.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like we had such a comparison to what we experienced in our prior company, the one that we were in for 15, 16, 17 years. Yeah. We understood we had the whole market. We had weight loss, which is, a $66 billion industry. We had everything going for us by way of not a big investment, no parties, no changes to our product line, 6 times a year, and a few products. I mean, at the time, when we joined, we didn't even have our pain products yet.
No.
And so we had just this handful of products, but what they were doing were helping the masses. And we really just even still back then had a fraction of the testimonies we have now. but I think our belief and our passion and our vision is
Yeah.
really what drove us. We used to be on those calls with Patty and Sheila and Coach and Deborah once a week, and we would hang up because it was so small. We were just like, oh my gosh, like there's just a handful of leaders in this company, and
Yeah.
we're going to be that. We're going to be one of them.
Yeah.
And we were like nothing could shake that. Nothing. And we even had the original product, you know, that we had people that had objections or they got real jittery on it, you know, the accelerator. And it wasn't like, oh, it was all easy and everything fell in our lap. I mean, but the pros like far outweigh the cons to the point where we were like, we would be crazy not to run after this with everything we got. And I know we talked about if we could just in a year get that Lexus, in a year go to Maui.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I think, let's see. So kind of moving along, we made some little notes to make sure we don't forget some of the good stuff. So we needed to see Sheila in action because as confident as we were about our presentation skills from all of our experience, it was still a little bit out of our comfort zone, health and wellness. And we just wanted to see Sheila. So you want to take it from there?
Yeah. So we asked Sheila. We'd been in maybe 6 weeks when we asked her. You know, she kind of saw things were happening. I remember her running a contest, and I remember her running a contest, and I won. Like maybe the second week I was in, you know, for so many something, maybe ambassadors. I don't know what it was, but I won 200.
You won like 150 cash or a lot of money.
250. 250.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it was. I remember that. But I remember we asked her, you know, if she would be willing to maybe come here to my town because I could feel what was happening, and she agreed. And so she decided, okay, I'll fly there. Helen was going to fly here too. And we were going to watch. I was going to create a couple of events and have Sheila do them. So that's what happened. And that was the week. It was around November the 15th through the 18th, 2012. And we had been in the company about 8 weeks at that point. And we had an event on Thursday night and Friday night. And then I remember during the day, we were just walking around the town. I was just taking Sheila and Helen in the beauty shop, taking them in the courthouse, taking them to the hospital, going to the nursing home. We were just going everywhere that I knew people and just talking. And I remember we had 25 people at that Thursday night event, and Sheila was blown away. And I know we already had some customers there with great testimonies. Great.
Well, share the story of how through your old job in the home with Clayton Homes, how you ran into somebody, Janet, that was with Plexus.
Oh, yeah. So Sheila was coming like the next week, and I was working at selling my mobile homes, and I had to go to like a little to one of the factories. It's like a tour of the factory in another town, so it's about an hour from here, close to it. And I was there, and I met Janet Franks, who is an emerald in the company. She wasn't though at the time, but she was in Plexus, and she and I met, and I said, we got to talking. We got to talking about something. I was telling her what I was doing. I said, I'm sure you've never heard of it. It's called Plexus. And that was it. She's like, oh my gosh. So then I told her Sheila was coming the next week. She's like, I know Sheila very well. I just won the cruise with Sheila. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I think they had like a leaders retreat or something that was a cruise. But so yeah, it's a small world. But
and then she drove like, I don't know how many hours and came to our very, very first meeting with her team.
It was 1 hour. It was 1 hour away. She lives an hour away. So she drove and brought some people, and that was an amazing weekend. And that's the weekend when I think I added maybe 7 ambassadors, several customers. And I remember feeling like this is it. This is really it. And, I certainly had not replaced my income by all means, but I remember calling Sheila like 3 or 4 days after she left and just saying, Sheila, I just keep feeling like, and I remember saying, I'm feeling like I'm being led to give my notice at work. I can get a part-time piddly job here locally just as a secretary somewhere, just something doing something piddly, meaning piddly that didn't take a lot of thought. What I was doing, driving, commuting, and selling homes, there was a lot to that. I wanted something just, so when I say being a secretary, I'm not saying that's piddly, but I'm saying I needed something that I could just locally be an assistant where I didn't have to do a lot of, like, I had more time. I was local. I didn't have to commute. I had more time. I didn't have a very strenuous job with loans, and so that I could work my Plexus more. And I remember saying, I feel like if I could just work something local, maybe being an assistant, then maybe by March, I could be able to go full time with Plexus. And I could make up the difference in my income with Plexus as I'm building it. And she said, that's a great idea, Sonia. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I believe you can do that if that's what you want to do. And
do you remember when we were sitting in your family room with her, and she had just gotten, because it was the middle of November, and she had just gotten one of her Sapphire paychecks.
Yeah.
And we, I remember I sent it to Matt. I emailed the picture of it to Matt. You showed Michael, and we were like, if we could ever get there. And Sheila was so amazing. Of course, she's like, oh, you will. And we're like, well, it was so, even though we knew we were going to be successful, just the reality of what financially that would mean for our family and how life-changing that would be was still very hard for us to sink in.
It was. And I remember, I don't remember us saying if we could make this. I remember seeing her check. And I remember saying, if we could just make half of this, remember, we would be happy with half of this, because she was making it, as a Sapphire. I mean, if you look at the income disclosure, I don't know the average Sapphire, but it was in the 20s. And I remember saying, we could just make half of that a month for the rest of our lives. We could get out of financial. Yeah, you remember that. And I made Michael come over and look at it. And there were only 2 Sapphires in the company at the time, her and Coach, and 16 emeralds. And today we have 320 or 30 jewels. So yeah, there were no diamonds in the company at this time. So yeah.
Yeah. There's over 70 diamonds now.
Yeah.
40, 50 sapphires, and I think 200 emeralds approximately.
It's a lot.
300. Yeah.
So I remember when Sheila said that, and I remember talking to Michael, and he said, if you think, he goes, I can kind of see where this is going. He said, so I'm believing if you think it can happen, and I'm seeing the money that's coming. He said, I go for it. So I went into work on November the 26th. I had a great boss. And I gave my notice, and my plans were to give a 1-month notice, work all through Christmas so I could have a paycheck, and then, start a part-time job, give me time to find a part-time job locally in January. He said, Sonia, you don't need a notice. You can go home today. You've got my blessing. Your heart's not here. You want to do this. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I was thinking, I really need the money through Christmas, but because I had not replaced my income.
Yeah. And was it the same week then that Alex Eldridge called you to do a story on you? Was it that same week or around that time?
That day. So here's the funny thing. This is how God works. So I came home. I drove home that day. My husband he had taken off work on a Monday because my kids were both out of school. They had a staff development right after Thanksgiving on Monday. So the kids were out of school. Michael had taken off. And I drove home thinking, oh my gosh, my husband thinks I was coming here to give my notice. Here I am driving home to tell him I have no job. And I remember we were refinancing the house, and I was worried. I remember calling the mortgage company on the way home and saying, I don't know what we're going to do. We're refinancing, and I've just basically quit my job. And he said, you know what? Let me run some numbers. I think we can do it on your husband's income. And he called back and said, yeah, we can. So, which meant we weren't going to have a mortgage for December or January. That was God's answer to me, because I was responsible for the mortgage plus the boat payment. And so that was such a validation that I was doing the right thing, And I came home that day, and that's when Alex Eldridge had called that day and said, we want to do a story on you. This is when the company did weekly stories on people that went out.
Yep.
You remember that?
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, you want to do a story on me? And so I said, I want to go deer hunting. I'm going to be back in just a couple hours. Can I call you and we'll do it? He's like, yeah. And that's when I went to my deer stand. I had not been hunting in like 20 years. Went to my deer stand and prayed in that deer stand and looked up. It was raining, saw a buck. Yeah, that was fun. Killed a buck. It was just such a great day. I mean, it was just such confirmation. And that's the same week, Helen, that I sponsored Michelle Thomas, Donna Sweeney, Michelle's Diamond, Stacy Hickerson is Diamond. She was sponsored that week, who sponsored Carol Ulmer Sapphire, Donna Sweeney, Senior Ruby. All that happened that week. Yeah, what a week. And that's the month I hit gold, was November. Did you hit gold in November?
We both hit gold, I believe. And then in December, I hit senior gold. And I think that was the month you were like 20 points away from senior gold. But things just like from that first trip, it was such a pivotal point for your business, which of course impacted, my business. And then, Sheila flew out to Reno to do my launch party. I already had a small team. So when the 27 people showed up at my house on a 27-degree December evening, which is unheard of for a home party, so to speak, it was, not a party, but that's what we called our launch party. And, I had got 5 new ambassadors that night, several new customers, and all of my team that, like Elizabeth Cruz, who's one of my rubies, she brought her gal that night, who's still with me, and just a handful of my team. That was such a another moment. It was like, who comes out to learn about, well, it was weight loss, and that's why people came out, and that was another confirmation. It's like, we would be happy if we get 5 people at an open house in December or whatever on an evening, cold, freezing evening. But I remember that was at the end of that month. Then after Sheila left and we had more success, was when the company ran a special, and I want to say it was like $19.95 to join.
Yep.
And at the end of that, sorry, that's my dog. The end of that month. That was, I think we had sponsored our husbands. Oh my gosh, seriously, hang on one second.
Yeah. And it's also the month that Casey joined, Casey Self, which, you remember Casey joining that month?
Yes. Casey. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So is that right? Then you were really, really close to senior gold.
Yeah. I ended that month with 195 points. 195. So I was 55 points away, but things were just boiling. Casey joined, and Casey said, she's in Missouri. Carol sponsored her, and she's like, oh my gosh, like I've got lots of people ready to jump on board. And I mean, I remember on New Year's Eve, the last day of the special, I think we sponsored like 40 or 50 people that day. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh,
it couldn't believe it.
I was out of town in California for New Year's Eve, and it was out of control. I remember thinking, I wasn't really working, but it was so exciting to see money email after money email after money email, and it was so overwhelming, Sonia. Really thinking, how quickly, and again, we joined in September, so the first couple months it wasn't, we were steady, getting customers, and we could feel that there was interest and people. We did get some ambassadors, etc. But it was like that whole end of December and then the beginning of January. I know we went to Super Saturday.
Yeah.
And you drove to where? You and Donna Sweeney, I think.
Me and Donna Sweeney. There might have been someone else with me. I can't think. I
remember you had one more person.
I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, we went to Memphis, and Deborah Lawson.
Yes.
Were there. Yes.
So I remember like a month before Super Saturday, I was at Bunko on like early December, and Sheila texted me because Carrie Spratley, who's one of my emeralds, as you know, her and her husband had amazing testimonies. Or my neighbors live across the street from me. Her and I had agreed to fly to Dallas and then rent a car and drive to Ardmore, Oklahoma, because that was going to be the closest Super Saturday to us in Reno, Nevada. So Sheila texts me while I'm at Bunko in early December and says, hey, Tarl has agreed to open up a Super Saturday in Scottsdale. If you and Carrie want to come in a day early, you can get a tour of the Plexus home office. So, you know, we can talk all day long about God's hand in this because it's so obvious. I mean, your story of the day you put in your notice is just goosebumps and chills. It's just amazing. But we used my husband's travel benefits, and that's free travel, which means standby. And there was all the flights that were nonstop from Reno to Phoenix were full. And the only way we could go on his discount was to connect through Los Angeles. And they were still pretty full, especially taking Carrie with me standby. We got the last 2 seats on every single flight there and back. And, you know, it was just one of those things. It was like obviously meant to be. So we got there Friday afternoon, and we were greeted by Alec Clark, who I remember it was like such a big deal. This is how small our company was. He was going around and introducing us, and he was like, this is Helen McFadden. She's a senior gold. And it's a great position, and I'm not discounting senior gold, but it shows, like, you know, we have thousands of senior golds now in our company, but probably at the time we maybe had like 20. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I mean, maybe 100, but it was still on the West Coast. I know that was a big deal because it was so brand new out here. Yeah, so we, this is just another, you know, amazing memory was that Tarl had Carrie and I come to his office after the tour with Alec and spent 20 minutes talking with us, asking us all kinds of questions. And he was so warm and down to earth and just so nice. I mean, him and Alec both, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, in our old company, we couldn't even meet the executives without winning a prize and maybe getting a quick picture, and, you know, but we couldn't talk to them. I mean, it was too big of a company. They were untouchable. And here Carrie and I are in, and I'm trying to explain to her because she'd never been in network marketing. It's like, okay, this is like a really big deal. Like, we're in the CEO's office. And so I remember this conversation with Tarl was, I said, hey, you need to get Missouri on your radar right now because something big is happening. Have you heard yet about Missouri? He's like, no. So he made a little note, and sure enough, you know, Casey ended up going fast start senior gold that month of January, right?
Yeah.
And I remember too when she joined. Was it her and Carol you were saying they want to be the next Sonia and Helen? Because they were like good friends. Was it her, or maybe it was Lindsay and Casey? I can't remember, but we were like laughing because we started to be known as the besties in the company that were just going for it, you know?
Yeah. So, I'll never forget. I'll never forget when Casey was. It was Casey.
Yeah, stay-at-home mom. Never really had worked a lot. Maybe dabbled in a couple other network marketing companies, and I think her first check, her first month, was over $3,000.
Yeah,
which was such a belief breaker for so many of us. I mean, that was like a really fast start, you know, compared to ours. Like, we didn't do that, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So that, of course, in January, you know, with her being your level 3 and she was my level 4, that was huge for us. And then I believe we both went Ruby then in January. You double ranked that month, senior gold and Ruby, and I went Ruby.
No. So the end of January, January I hit senior gold, but I ended with 475 points.
So, yeah.
You hit Ruby in January. I was shy 25 points. So February, I hit Ruby and senior Ruby, and Stacy Hickerson hit senior gold, Ruby, and senior Ruby in February. 3 bonuses. I got 2 bonuses. Crazy. You hit senior Ruby. Yeah, you hit that in February too.
Yeah,
as well.
I remember when I hit Ruby in January, actually I was eating lunch with my mom at a bridge in a casino. Like, it was this non-smoking bridge, the Oyster Bar. You and I have been there before in Atlantis. And my cell phone rings, and it's a Phoenix area code. And I think we learned by then that we answer phone calls that have a Phoenix area code from Arizona, and Tarl called to congratulate me on Ruby. And once again, I'm like, the CEO is calling me because I went Ruby? Like, are you kidding me? I mean, we were so just blown away at how much they were reaching out to us and congratulating us. So we had gone, so then in February, you were almost a Ruby. I mean, we might as well say that. I mean, 25 points, really. And then that was when we went to Sykeston with Sheila.
Yes. So Sheila flew back to Nashville and you flew to Nashville. I picked you both up at the airport. We drove from Nashville to Sykeston, Missouri, and we did a Friday night event there and a Saturday training. And I remember the Saturday training in that insurance office, in Jared's insurance office. There was standing room only. There was like 60 people there for training. Sheila was blown away. We had a snow. And Sheila had never, it'd been like years, I guess, since she'd
never seen snow or, yeah.
Whether
she so beautiful. It was like God just like blessing our meeting, you know, a beautiful snowstorm.
And Helen, that was the time too, like my friend Sarah Marvel, that was the first time I met Sarah, was during that February time. Sarah messages me on Facebook and I never met her. And she's like, who are you? And this Helen, and what are you guys doing? Would you spend some time talking to me? And so that's when Sarah and I had a phone call, and that was our first meeting. And, I've always admired Sarah because, she wasn't afraid to reach out. She didn't have, here we were, two people coming in. She'd been in, I don't know, a year or two before us. And, I just always admired and appreciated her.
I remember she filled in for Sheila one night on a Wednesday night call and did such a great job. And she was really a rising star in our company and, really been there from the beginning.
Yes.
And still to this day, just such an amazing leader.
Yes.
I remember on that drive to Missouri, we were getting you get monies just constantly. And so we said to Sheila, because convention was coming up in New Orleans in June, early June, and we had the contest going, and we were like, do you think we could win the top prize, which was this, you could select jewelry, any piece of jewelry off, real nice jewelry from the jewelry platter. And Sheila was like, oh yeah, you guys are going to get that. And again, coming from where we came from, we never got the top prize ever, as hard as we worked. So we just couldn't believe we were going to be on stage getting jewelry from, the executives from the company. And so that, of course, did come true. When we did go to that convention, we were 2 of 6 winners in the entire company. And I think anybody that, ends up watching our video understands, how many diamonds and how many emeralds and sapphires and check winners. And it's in the hundreds now of top achievers in this company. And so 6 people on stage getting the top prize, just incredible.
Which would be like the shopping spree today. So that we took a Rolex. Neither one of us had anything more than a Timex. So
you're like, okay, yeah, we were it was all so new to us, all this luxury and
it was crazy.
Yeah. So so March hits. We'd done our trip and everything was just, going crazy. I remember we were all on a team call one night with Sheila, and I think I hit Senior Ruby during the call, and we all started screaming because our points were just, going crazy all the time. And so in March, you came out to Reno because Alec and Sheila, they were all coming out to do an Opportunity of a Lifetime event here, our very first one in Reno, and you flew out for it.
Yep.
Training in my house. I don't know, there was probably 30, 40 people in my living room. Sheila did an awesome training, and we were still really learning too. It was happening so fast for us. So anytime we could be around Sheila, we were like, yes, And so, do you want to share about our trip to the Lexus dealership?
So, we realized that we were going to be winning a Lexus in a month or two. And so we went out to test drive the Lexus, and I never forget, we had on the black shirts with the green sparkle that said,
we were matchy like tonight.
Like tonight. And I remember the guy at the dealership, we were like, we're going to be winning one of these next month. And he was
later this month, because it was early March.
Yeah, later this month. And
Yeah.
we were very much on track to hit Emerald. We still couldn't believe it, but we were definitely going to do it. And he just wasn't buying it, and we could tell. And yeah, so and then 2 weeks later, you wanted to pick it up from here?
Yeah. So, okay. So when you flew back home, you went to your Lexus dealership and cause you kind of figured out which model you wanted to choose from. And so then I went back 2 weeks later, or I actually called, and they had a car coming in that was exactly what I wanted, the RX 350. And when I went in to sign the paperwork and everything, I had one of the finance guys, he shared with me, he said, I want you to know the day that you and your best friend came in here a couple weeks ago, we were laughing. We did not believe you guys were serious. We have people that come in from network marketing often and say they're going to win a car and they never come back. And that you guys were saying it was going to happen later that month. We just, I mean, he goes, I apologize, like, but we didn't believe you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like we would ever do that. Like I was laughing going, are you serious? Like I would never walk into a car dealership and say, I'm going to win a car and not be anywhere close to it or whatever. So that just kind of shows how skeptical people are. And once again, how Plexus is the real deal. Cause it's like, obviously it was happening, you know? Yeah. And so, that was a pretty cool memory. It's like, I walked out of there. I'm like, yeah, you're going to be seeing more of us coming right after me.
I think it was actually the last weekend in February when I flew out there to do that event with you with Alec and Sheila. So then we went to Ohio around mid-March. Yeah. Well, actually, it was like the 21st, 22nd, the day we hit Emerald. You hit Emerald.
Yeah, I hit Emerald around the 15th-ish, I think, because I went and got my Lexus on the 17th on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And then I got my car, and then I got on a flight, like I didn't even get to drive it because I flew to Ohio to go. Well, I think I might have gone to Nashville first. Maybe we met in Ohio. No, I did go to Nashville because then you hit Emerald, and I'll never forget it. We were at Nashville Airport on our way to Ohio.
Yep.
And you were like 5 or maybe 4 points away. You were like at 1496 or something. Yeah. And we were at line at Starbucks, and we were so on a high, like a Plexus high, like nobody's business. And we were like, we were just going, if people knew like right now, like what is happening? And it's like, we are just like, going to be emeralds and top. We were so excited. And so all of a sudden I looked at my phone because I was checking if my points changed, it was probably yours. I'm like, Sonia, my points just changed. Check your points. And you were at 1,500. And I have this picture of you going like this. It was so cute. And we were screaming, and of course everybody's like, okay. But we didn't care. We did not care. And we jumped on that plane, and we went to go work with Michelle Thomas, who is your other bestie, then Silver Ambassador.
Yes.
Scared to death about this whole venture with Plexus, and she just wanted it though.
Yeah.
So 4 events with her. We stayed with her family up in Salina, and you want to share what Angie's brother Steve was like, kept wanting to see your check?
Yeah. I mean, Michelle was silver, but the reason we took a chance, and this was another God thing, people say to us all the time, well, how do you know who to go work with? Well, Michelle was silver, but she was fastly approaching gold, and there was a lot of momentum. I felt the way about what was happening in her business the same way I felt what was happening in my business in the beginning. I felt that movement. And so I just said to Helen, I'm going. I think we need to go because I'm feeling like if we go there, it's going to be worth it. And so we did the 4 events. We stayed like at her mom's house.
We stayed at Angie's house.
We stayed maybe somewhere else. I don't know. We stayed at a lot. We traveled the state. I mean, we went hours at a time. But they just wanted to see our checks. They couldn't believe we had just hit Emerald. And I remember Michelle being so terrified to speak. And we did not make her speak. She would get red and flushed and just so nervous to speak. And we didn't ask her to speak. We did it.
She just watched us in the front row like a little sponge,
Yeah, yeah. And to see where she is today as a diamond and Tim as an emerald, almost a sapphire. I mean, talk about life-changing for that whole family. I mean, Angie and Patty and Jackie, like all the moms and sisters are, they're high rankings, and it's like it's made a huge difference in their health and their wealth. I mean, it's just thousands now from Michelle's team. She has thousands of
emotional testimonies. A lot of Plexus babies under Jessica. I mean, it couldn't go on. We could do a whole hour on her team alone and family.
Yeah,
it's just so amazing.
We could. Let's see, where are we? We're nearing the
So that was a game changer for Michelle, who is of course now a diamond ambassador, and her husband's an emerald, and they have Rock the Pink, and just, history was made that weekend. Just the belief barriers were broken, and of course, it goes without saying how proud we are of them. And, you especially knowing her struggles before Plexus of quitting her job and cashing out her 401k and all that stuff, the financial stress and everything. So, so the next month was really exciting. We were the very, very first Silver Star winners in the company. It was the first time they ran the contest. And we had won it that March, so the month we went Emerald. So we went in April with Matt and Michael, and that we actually flew into Phoenix on the 15th was the day our financials came out. So we got our first Emerald check, and I know that we finished the month of going Emerald way over Emerald points. So we, for the first time ever, got a 5-digit paycheck. We met in baggage claim, looked at our financials together, and just screamed and hugged. And of course, Matt and Michael were feeling pretty confident by this time that I think it's going to work out. I think this is a pretty good idea. And so I'll never forget it. So Alex Eldridge picks us up in baggage claim, and we did not have the Sprinter. Do you remember?
Yeah.
The van.
Yeah.
The Plexus out van. Kind of an older van, so we were kind of like, wow, okay, well, it says Plexus on it. This is cool. We're all going in the van with Alex. And because it was the first Silver Star trip, it was so different than they are now, where we stayed. We were like in downtown Phoenix. And so we were checking into this like really nice hotel. It was like a Westin or something. And Matt and Michael, they turned to each other and they're like, there is no way this trip is free. It's coming out of their check next month. We're going to get deducted. Oh my gosh, we laughed so hard, but that was their mentality, because every time we won a free dinner before in our old network marketing company, we had to pay $80 for it, but it was free, or we had to earn it because of who we sat with. So do you remember how much we just died? And
we laughed over that for the whole trip. I mean, we're like, okay, next month we'll see the minus. We had fun with that one.
So funny. And Alex did such a great job, and he was so nervous. Like we got like $300 spending money, and he was like shaking, like, okay, count it out and make sure that you have the right amount. I think you were short $20, and you had to tell him. Alex,
he brought it to the pool.
Oh my gosh, he was like so embarrassed.
He brought it to the pool, instead of like now it probably comes in a check to you guys that win it or something, but he brings the money to the pool. He's counting it out. We're in the pool. I'm like, oh my gosh, we were definitely the guinea pigs. And I think after we won it that month, they changed it to where it couldn't be an emerald that won the trip. It had to be, because we had like 27 or 28 silvers, but we were also that month, but we hit emerald. So I think they moved it after us to where you had to be only like a senior. You can only be up to senior roof.
Right, they changed the rule. They changed everything after us, but we had a great time. We got to meet our president, Alfred, that whole weekend. Tarl and Alec were gone. So we went to a game, basketball, NBA game. Is it I can't even remember, the Suns. No, is it the Phoenix Suns, I think?
I don't know.
And we had our own box seats. And then the next night we went to that beautiful restaurant in the top of the Hyatt, goes around, turns around the whole city with the view, with Chris Pike, and got to know him. And And then so Alfred and Chris and Matt and Michael were all wearing like pastel shirts. It was the craziest thing. We took pictures that night because we're like, did you guys plan this? And he was like, light yellow, light green, light purple, light blue.
I remember that.
Yeah, that was amazing. And super, super fun. About that time, I got a phone call from Plexus wanting to come out and do a little my Plexus Journey video on our family. And I just remember, I think I called you and was like, you're not going to believe this. And so that was so surreal. And I know we've done our Diamond documentary since and everything, but it was like, just for saying yes, taking a leap of faith, you just never know what can happen. And I look back, that my Plexus Journey video is still on our website to this day on the home page. And every now and then I'll watch it. I get such a kick out of it. The boys' voices are all high, at puberty yet. It's just like not even 3 years, 2.5 years ago. So that was a real privilege. And then I know Alec asked you to speak at convention, that first convention, which was coming up. And so we just both got to experience some amazing, things just those first 6 months. But because we knew this opportunity and what it could be, and it's not like now it's even better. Now there's so much success behind Plexus. It's almost easier than ever. The programs we have in place, the success testimonies, the health testimonies, all that. But we were just kind of really part of those pioneering times in the beginning. We got to, have those benefits of having videos and speaking and, of course, it's so emotional, to really think about the blessings that came so soon for us,
Yeah. And, you went, I remember like we hit Emerald in March, but we ended with like close to 2,000 points. So like we then hit, I know in May is when we hit
both had Sapphire in May because we went on stage. We got our little plaque things at convention in New Orleans in early June for Sapphire. And there was maybe, 8 Sapphires in the company. We were like maybe 7 and 8 or 9 or 10. It wasn't much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sheila was the very first diamond that convention. And she said, there's plenty of room. And I knew that month I was going to hit. And so I did hit diamond in June, and then you hit diamond in July the following month.
Yeah.
And I'll just share my experience of my very first diamond check. It was only me and Sheila and one other gal in the pool. So my very first diamond check was over what Matt made in an entire year at his job. And we had rented a little cabin at a lake about 2 hours from here. And I remember seeing the financial reports, but I'm not even believing that it was real money until it hit my bank account that day. And the 4 of us were together, and it was just so emotional because it was like, oh my gosh, like this is real money. This is a real opportunity. I'm a real person. You're next. Just to know how tangible, like it really was, like this is real. And how many diamonds now we've been able to experience that same emotion of like, oh my gosh, I just said yes. I ran with this. And now, and money's not everything by any means. The perks we know have been the relationships, the testimonies, the love and the friendships we all share with each other. But just to know we've changed the course of our family's future, financial future for generations to come because of this comp plan. It's the comp plan that's so amazing and real. Just thousands of people now can experience and have that same experience and say, Plexus has changed my financial future, whether it's an extra $500 a month or whatever. We were just one of the first, to experience that. But to see what's happened since is so, so humbling and so awesome. And
so overwhelming. And I remember, and I love that you say, money is not everything, but I can also tell you that money, when there's a lack of money, which is where we were and where we've been most of our life, but a lack of money, every decision you make is based on the bank account. And so, it may not be everything, but it's way up there to give you freedom of choices. And so and to give people hope back. And for us having that 6-figure debt and things like that, I mean, it has made such a difference in our lives. And, you know, when you can give and help people and you don't have to, you know, look at your bank account before you go to the grocery store or you get gas, which is where I was 3 years ago. I remember texting Michael, you know, I'd text him on a Thursday and go, is your check going to hit tonight? If it is, I'm going to go ahead and get gas on the debit card. If it's not, I'm going to have to use the credit card. I mean, This is 3 years ago. I mean, it's, you know, it's surreal. It really is. And, you know, I remember, like feeling so overwhelmed when we were hitting Emerald and even right before that. And then Sapphire, I remember being like, I mean, there would be days, you and I, it'd be like 2 days. It's 4 o'clock. I mean, I'm embarrassed to tell y'all this, but it'd be like 4 o'clock. My husband would be almost home from work and I'd be like, Helen, I have not brushed my teeth or showered or eaten today. I have not moved because every device I have is going off with a text, a message, email. I can't even. And so I said, why don't I make a video? You know, maybe there's that channel that I've heard of called YouTube. And seriously, that's how green I was. There's that channel called YouTube. What if I make a video and maybe I can just tell people to go watch it and give a generic answer? And so that's why and how my YouTube channel got started. It was not so that it would be crazy that people would know who I was. I promise you, it was not about me. It was not about me. I
remember we talked about it, and you were just so good at it. I'm like, you make them. I mean, I'll tell you. I've given you some doozies on. You know, you need to make a video about this because we'd have all these conversations. It's like we were getting the same questions inundated. Our power team page blew up. We had like 10,000 people, and that's when we decided to get the website instead and better manage our time and branch off leaders so that they could be a small fish in a big pond, or a big fish in a little pond. And yes, and you were just so good at it, and you still, I mean, you're just, it's like your thing, you know. It was such a blessing because it helped our team and obviously the whole entire Plexus sales force now tremendously with all of your knowledge and just doing such a great job at it. And so
thank you. That's how that was born. I always want people to know it certainly wasn't. I said I'm bored one day. I'm all out of necessity.
I remember talking to you, were telling me I'm going to make a video. I'm like, oh my gosh, how smart. Yes, you know.
Yeah, so, it's crazy. And yeah, we probably need to wrap it up, but you want to talk about maybe like the first, like our tour, and then how many people we had in Maui or that are on our team?
Yeah, I mean, like just how much it's grown. Like we went to Maui that year, obviously. Our husbands went Emerald later that year. I think maybe Michael early the next year. Matt was able to retire. There's so many reasons now why we've seen each other so much. We counted up about 9 or 10 times in 2013 alone that we got to see each other with the $5,000 New York shopping spree, Amelia Island, Maui. The next year you got to fly out on a whim with Michael and go to Matt's surprise retirement party, which these are just the little things that we stop and go, oh my gosh, like we could never have done this before. And the freedom that we have to not just have the money to do those trips, but the freedom to just not have to ask anybody, just clear our calendar and go. And we've had so many pinch me moments. And we did our tour that right after Matt's retirement party, the summer of 2014, 4 cities, 4 states in 5 days. It was so fun.
Right. It was fun. It was a blast. And, you know, when Michael's sister passed away unexpectedly, you know, for you to just be able to, you just dropped everything and said, I'm coming out there to help you for a week, just get through life. And you did. And, you know, it's money buys choices. And I always try to tell people, try to look at your why and what would you want if you could do and have and be anything. And there was no fear in the way and no objections, what would it be? And that's the things you can create for yourself with a great company like this. So, I think we have, I don't know exactly how many's just on your leg, but I know together we probably have over 50 jewels together.
Yes. Yeah, it's so deep now. It's deep now. We've kind of lost count.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that represents 30,000+ people that have come through our downline. And that's not counting customers. So talk about that ripple effect of one person's decision. So, I mean, your God-led decision that day, because that's all it was, to say to me, you're doing this with me. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason that I said yes, that you even looked at that. So, I mean, I can't even, thank you will never be enough. In a million years, it could never be enough, because the fun and the relationships that we have built, even our own, it's just priceless. There's no way to put a price tag on it.
And you know, I know, and I'm starting to get emotional, so bear with me here, because it is so overwhelming when you start throwing out numbers of the jewels and what that represents for them, just that one person. And then there's multiple ones, and many of them that we knew personally before Plexus, you know, like Michelle and like Ame Darling, and people that are just our best friends, you know, that those text messages that they're forever grateful. Like, how do you even put that into words? You know, just that because of a Plexus and us saying yes. And I love the saying, you know, God doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And I feel like our whole journey before in our cosmetic company was equipping us for Plexus. And people always want to know, you know, how'd you do it so fast? How'd you do it so fast? And we truly did have amazing training. And you know, he was lining everything up from the time I met you in Tennessee in the back of Shoney's, and you were like, hey, and hug, that first hug, until this moment. You know, it's like, it's just, what we like to share when we talk about our story is for people to believe in themselves, and that this can be your story too. Lock arms with a power partner if you're lucky enough, like we are, to have it be your best friend, all the better. And you probably, you know, just have, you know, maybe you can convince your best friend after this video, I don't know, hopefully. But, you know, that we are just now two, you know, pairs of Plexus success stories that, you know, of many now in the company. So many. And it's so doable. It's so achievable. We've never seen anything like this ever. Nothing close. For $34.95 to see that small amount of money change not just our lives, our family, our children, generations to come, but hundreds, you know, after us. What we've experienced, Sonia, I would, you know, is more than most people would ever experience in a lifetime or hope to. And we're so blessed. And, you know, when they say, you know, when, like Alec Clark says, you know, when you're blessed, be a blessing. And I feel like, you know, share this video for everybody who's watching. It's just stories of hope and perseverance and love and passion and belief and just living out your dream. You know, what if we are nobody super special, we're goofy, we just love to have fun, and we took what we had, our knowledge, and saw what we had and ran with it. Blinders on, close the back door, no other option but to go straight to the top. And we know you can do it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to leave it at that, because I sure don't want to get emotional. I know we have a call in 15 minutes. But yeah, I love you too. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.